Cool. We're being recorded to the cloud, and then I can post this later for the folks that weren't able to join us. Okay, so I just kind of got done reviewing the papers we've been talking about, and if you're curious, those Zoom sessions were recorded and they're available with passcodes, on our journal page. So this is today's session, right? And again, maybe because it's it's a kind of wide open thing. Once you begin looking at psychological factors and quality of life, it's such a wide open literature that I have trouble getting my head around. So I wanted to. This is a fairly punchy paper that I chose that gets us off out of the starting blocks. But just to show you that it's really not a one-off, there's a more recent review paper on the benefits of tango therapy and alleviating the motor and non-motor symptoms of Parkinson's disease patients. So that's a much it's a broader review of a wider span of kind of tango therapy. And then I wanted to also, they're gonna right in the title of our paper today is this beautiful word on the embodied self, which again is kind of the subject of a gigantic amount of literature on holistic healing. And Margaret, I would invite you to please kind of help us out on some of these issues. But for me, the best way to get my head around to kind of embody embodiment, and if I found a way that we could have like a movie night on Zoom and have some kind of artificial popcorn or something, this movie called Being in the World is just so gorgeous, so beautiful. And so I'll just, I mean, it's available. It's a link to the free version on YouTube. But then for the folks that want to go kind of beyond the video, there's an amazing book written by two nurses in California called The Primacy of Caring, where they come at it from the point of view of this being in the world embodiment idea. This has really been really influential. There's a more recent book that I've only kind of skimmed, with the full title, The Psychology of Physical Sensation. It's a difficult thing to get in touch with, right? And so let's see what we can do. So I'm gonna move to our paper. Is this big enough for you guys to parse? And again, I can read out the most salient pieces are things that I've highlighted in this PDF. And so for the folks joining us, these PDFs are posted hopefully well ahead of time on our journal page. And again, this is not homework for the Glove participants. This is just kind of value added to kind of give us a conversation piece each week, or every 2 weeks, sorry, to kind of focus our thoughts and just broaden our understanding of this epidemic. And so the papers are there. I typically highlight what I think are points that are super salient, and that kind of speak directly to the impact of the study. And so already in their background, so this is a group coming out of Germany, out of Heidelberg, creative arts therapies and therapy sciences. And the objective of the study was to assess the feasibility of measuring changes in psychological outcomes. What outcomes are they looking for? Specifically, well-being, body self-efficacy, outcome expectations, and experienced beauty after a single Argentine tango intervention in a workshop format. And so for me, that's a very kind of, there's a lot of information there. They're telling us exactly what they're up to. This is not a cure. This is not the only treatment, right? This is the feasibility of measuring changes. So is a single intervention enough to change some measure of well-being, some measure of body self-efficacy, some measure of outcome expectations, which again, for the glove is also, I mean, people have outcome expectations for drugs and for surgery that are different than these kind of, I hate to call the glove an alternative treatment, but it is until we get a much larger clinical trial out there, an FDA approval, yada, yada, yada. And then this notion, like for the artists in our crowd, and this was, if we looked more deeply into the paper, this notion of experienced beauty is not something that they expected to tease out of their study, but they found, that in the responses they were getting to the questionnaire, there was something extra that people were getting out of an aesthetic dimension, in addition to kind of well-being, body self-efficacy, and outcome expectations. So for me, it's always fun, when scientists go into something looking for something and then they find something different. So that for me was noteworthy. Um, and so they give us a little bit of a tour in the beginning, that in recent years there's been increasing interest in non-pharmacological therapies, right? And I think we're all here, looking for what to do when the drugs you're taking are not doing the job that they should be doing. What else is out there? The glove is why we're here in some sense. Um, so non-pharmacological therapies and the effects of movement in general, and dance in particular for people with Parkinson's. Integration of dance, and particularly tango, as an innovative approach into PD rehabilitation is supported by a number of recent reviews. And to read even these more recent reviews from the past couple of years, I mean, they make it sound, like there's like a tango revolution happening. Um, and again, you guys are on the front line. I'd be interested in hearing experiences you've had with exercise or dance therapies. Um, and so once again, they're going to tell us, what the perspective is. We focus on psychological effects of tango for PD from an embodiment perspective, and the aesthetic component that has not yet been taken into account as a mechanism. And so this embodiment perspective, and this is a very brief place. They give a couple of references. Um, I think my reference to the YouTube movie is a whole lot more accessible than these kind of more academic things that they're promoting. Um, an embodiment perspective addresses the living body, and it's bizarre these things have to be put in kind of scare quotes, right? I mean, just because um, we're talking about a thing that is us, but we're talking about it kind of from the outside in. To be a body, again in quotes, as opposed to the body proper, that is to have a body. Um, this is the body-mind unity as an entity, and provides a timely framework to understand and explain phenomena we meet in Parkinson's disease. So this is something. So out of Western thought, since Descartes, has come kind of a separation of mind and body, um, and and the movement in the 20th century with embodiment, say coming out of Heidegger and Merleau-Ponty, which they reference, or the YouTube video that I reference, there's this kind of reunification of the mind and the body, and this is also happening during our revolution in neuroscience, where we now have a word for the part of the nervous system that kind of knows where the body's at. And for me, the reason for the deep mystery is that that part of the nervous system that knows where the body's at and how it moves, we don't have direct access to that information. Um, so we have these touch sensors, right, that we're using for the glove. We have taste and smell and sight, and we feel like that's giving us almost immediate access to what's around us in the world. Where the proprioceptive nervous system we're talking about here knows where the body is, knows how the body is moving, and this is a system that gets degraded in Parkinson's. And so it's something that perhaps something like tango can help revivify this inner body, this proprioceptive nervous system, help retie it to our sensory nervous system. That these are like early days, but the results are impressive. Um, and so that's their perspective. Um, they finish a much larger review on the next page, and that's again what I've highlighted here. Um, Meta-analyses and systematic reviews, meaning these are papers that review the dozens of other earlier papers on tango therapy. They agree that the largest effects of tango for PD exist for improving gait, balance, and quality of life. Okay. And gait imbalance we've investigated in previous studies ourselves here, and now we're moving into um, this more kind of psychological, the softer areas, right, of kind of quality of life. I think we spoke a little bit last time about kind of why tango. It's a beautiful kind of insight, and here they really just give the most tentative kind of um, explanation for what's going on, but uh, it's cryptic. But I think the statement is very, very pregnant with meaning. We could and probably should talk about this, over time. And I'd love to hear from some of you that I've watched move before and after kind of drugs kick in. Um, so why tango? So one reason may be that patients are so focused on following and attuning to the partner, there's a social aspect of this, in the present moment, that they are not even realizing that they walk backward over extended periods of time, that they turn securely backward and forward, and that they repeatedly initiate movement without any problems. And so there's this kind of literature that certain pathways that have been degraded in Parkinson's, there are alternate pathways that the brain can find if it can somehow be cued, or tricked. We've talked about this kind of using an auditory cue to help kind of jog the mind into a different concentration state, or a visual cue of where the next step in your walk is expected to be by laying down a laser beam light in front of you. Um, those things, again, those are kind of engineering kludges. It looks like Tango has that kind of stuff built in, and it's exercising different pathways that give the Parkinson's patient fluid movement. And I think that fluidity also then speaks to this aesthetic environment of finding beauty in dance that maybe the Parkinson's patient did not see it coming. And so this line gets drawn out and longer in more recent reviews. There's much more speculation about what's going on, but I think in one sentence they've kind of captured the mystery there, because that mystery is based upon observation, right? They're watching Parkinson's patients kind of focus in on the social aspect and the music aspect, and be kind of unaware even that they're initiating movement without problem, that they're walking backward. Um, so this is a very hopeful sentence I found. Um, um, this is then just kind of a scientific papers have lots and lots of repetitions. It makes them perhaps easy to read, right? Because as they move into one area, they want to kind of come back to what are the main points. So this is just to help us kind of get us back on track in our reading. They really want to assess the effects of a single intensive tango intervention on well-being, self-efficacy, and patients' outcome expectancies. And so I'm gonna and there's a very kind of soft view of how the brain kind of organizes these types of behaviors, and how these things kind of feed back on themselves. Um, this is them adding a few components of a more complex model to an earlier model of kind of aesthetic perception. This is kind of the more academic side of things. Um, so I'm not gonna kind of fixate on that. I just wanted to kind of highlight what they were able to find, and also something about um, the measures that they were using. Um, and so again, back to the basic question: can a single tango intervention improve well-being, outcome expectations, and body self-efficacy, including aesthetic experiences in Parkinson's patients? Um, and so and again, I'm really just here to kind of flag these things for you guys, to kind of help you kind of focus through what might be kind of more long-winded, academies. I know we have some ex-professors in the audience that may be better at kind of knowing how to ignore things in papers and what to focus in on. But for me, the main results are in the ABC category here that I'm going to show you. Sorry, they kind of split onto 3 pages. Um, and so how are they really measuring, apathy? And then what are the results that they're finding? Um, and so they're here, they're just beginning to help us explain what they mean by well-being. They help us explain what they mean by body self-efficacy, and they help us explain what they mean by by the patient's therapy outcome expectancies. What do you expect to get from this treatment? What do you know about it already? What have you heard from friends or colleagues? Um, and so, and these are all based somewhat on kind of on existing definitions that they're working on, coming from folks that are suffering depression or strokes, or in this case, cancer. Um, and it's the final one, which is the more innovative one for them, that they claim, that. Well, let me first define it first. So, what is aesthetic experience? Experienced beauty was introduced as a secondary outcome in the course of the investigation when it became clear from the work and our continuously running Tango for Parkinson's group at their outpatient center that there were factors other than the ones above that had been previously investigated, psychological ones, that supported patient attendance in the groups, um, which is kind of another large one, right? So there's a social aspect to joining in a dance with a partner, but then there's also, as we know, human beings are super fallible, and we have trouble sticking with exercise regimes. We have trouble sticking with diet routines, and so finding something that keeps on bringing people back is also something that's super important for us if we're building therapy into our treatment, right? We want people to want to continue. So they're not arguing here that one piece of tango is enough, but they're concerned, is it enough to maybe hook people into investigating or investing in a larger study? Um, and so I think those are the major measures, and then the rest are largely kind of results. How do they collect the data? What's the demographics of the folks in their study, um, and and exactly kind of what scale were they using to measure body self-efficacy. So that's kind of the the numerical side of those things. And I don't want to kind of get bogged down in that and not give us time to talk more about kind of our own outcomes and expectations, kind of back to the glove work. Um, and so you can just kind of skip to the easy way to look at the numbers, kind of on graphs. And so they found, fairly significant increase in well-being between before the tango and after the tango. They found significant increase in body self-efficacy, again, as measured by these measures, which I'm not really dragging you through, but they're quantitative ways of assessing well-being. Quantitative yet, but still subjective, of course, right? Body self-efficacy increasing from before tango to after tango, outcome expectancies before and after. And then there's this kind of aesthetic experience, which again, this is part of kind of quality of life, right? Is finding not only beauty in the outside, but even beauty in your own movements. So again, no pun intended. This is a moving result, um, and for me, that this is kind of the take home. This is just one of maybe by now hundreds of studies of tango therapy that are getting larger and larger, and more predominant. Um, and so I guess from that, I mean, I welcome anybody's comments, but if we can maybe start with observations on what you guys were feeling as you read through this paper. Are there any? Um, I think we had a musician in a couple of weeks. Judith was here, and I don't see her tonight. Um, are there? And I know Laura, you've done some voice training and the like. Um, And I imagine other people in here are doing voice training, some dance, some exercise. Can we,
Well, one thing
anything?
comes to mind, Steve.
Yeah, Ken.
When I was first diagnosed, the one of the people I visited, I was doing like the loud voice, big action. But she commented they have some experience with people trying to draw things, but looking in a mirror, trying to
Hmm.
do activities,
Hmm.
and your brain's forced to think in a different way. And like with the tango, you're walking backwards, you don't realize you're turning, so you're doing things you normally don't do, and it's opening new pathways in the brain.
Yeah, yeah,
And I can see like certainly doing something with a mirror. I mean, it's just everything you do is the opposite.
Gotcha. Yeah. 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 Trying to do Leonardo da Vinci. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
One question, and I didn't thoroughly read the papers. When I was going tango, I'm like, I can't dance. I couldn't dance before I had Parkinson's, so just ask my wife. But I was
Yeah.
wondering,
Yeah.
with the assessment that was done pre and post, was that like a subjective scale, like person or because what I'm wondering is how much noise is in the 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 questions. So if I
Yeah.
gave the question to somebody, the battery questions, and I had them sit for an hour and a half and ask the same questions again, how much noise would I see in the answers
Yeah.
with no intervention of a tango?
Right. Right.
I'm
Right.
just wondering like how,
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. I mean, they're using standard statistical tools, but I don't know if they've done such controls that what you're suggesting right there.
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah,
well, and I've done tango.
Laura, yes,
I've studied dance for all my adult life until now. But the
hmm
thing about tango is you are moving with a partner. So I think your partner's kind of carrying you, so it's helping with the fluidity of the movement
uh-huh,
that maybe you wouldn't experience now. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah,
think it kind of forces your brain to get out of your head that I can't do this.
hmm
And then I think another benefit would be connection because you're dancing with another person. And I find with Parkinson's, sometimes you feel isolated.
hmm yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So no, that human touch, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Um, um, and are you continuing to dance, Laura?
Well, I was doing flamenco,
hmm
and then, I kind of stopped because it was painful for me, not be
hmm
graceful. But maybe I'm hoping the gloves will give me the ability to dance more. But that's why I chose singing because I wanted to do something artistic.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah,
So
thank
anyway,
you, thank you.
Hey, Steve,
Yes, yes.
if anybody wants to see a tango, go for a clip, and it's the scent of a woman. There's a wonderful tango scene in that movie, and you can find a clip of it
Uh-huh.
on YouTube. And it's I forget the actor's name. He's quite
Al
famous.
Pacino.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
dancing. And he's blind. He's pretending to be blind, but
Uh-huh.
it's a fantastic sort of tango clip.
Cool. Thanks, Ken. You guys get that? Scent of a Woman? Al Pacino? Yeah. It does sound miraculous, Ken, right? That if you can not dancing before Parkinson's and then taking it up during Parkinson's, but this kind of the thinking aside and the intimacy, the musical cueing, there's it appears that there's something to that. Um, and also just finding beauty in your own movements, so it's um not something that I've participated in very often. Yeah. Um,
I think it would show promise just from the standpoint of getting out there and moving and having that social interaction. But for someone like me who just I've been single for a long time. I've never been a dancer. It's hard to imagine getting into that kind of an environment.
Yeah.
Um, but I know that just movement in general, like I've been running for the last month or so, and that has helped free up my overall mobility, and my gait has improved. So that's movement is the big thing, I think.
yeah.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
Bo, that just getting out and doing something. I don't do the dancing part, but I do about 8 to 10 hours of exercise a week. And for the
Mm-hmm.
past 4 years, I've been able to keep everything pretty much at the same level as when one of my new neurologists saw me. So I do a little bit of yoga, a little bit of weight training,
Mm-hmm.
cardio, walking, boxing, and bike pedaling.
Yeah, awesome. That's great.
Motion
It
is the
seems like,
lotion.
yeah, Yeah, it seems like doing something you enjoy is so important. So many people are enjoying ping pong, boxing, tai chi. It's all about movement, but something that you enjoy and have fun doing, whether there's a person or not involved. It seems like that's the most critical thing, because once your dopamine levels are increasing because you're enjoying something, it seems like, and the movement is in there, it makes all your symptoms, less pronounced. And that's the impression that I get in seeing what other people are doing. For every person, it's different, right? As we
Yeah.
talked about,
Yeah.
the disease is like a snowflake where it's different for everyone. And if everyone finds their happy zone, whatever activity that is, and amplify it, then it seems like the symptoms tend to not increase as much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And on that observation, Runa, that basically it's the movement rather than the actual, modality of the movement. And I don't mean to be so entirely glove centric. I just been kind of living this 24/7, but there's the mystery, right? Still of how the glove works. And Kanwar offered us some insight, at least on his, he has long-term experience, but this is a small sample size. When people asked about whether they should be active or restful or even sleeping with the glove on, and Conwar's kind of pretty quick response, if I remember right, you guys can help me on that, but that activity while wearing the glove just boosted the impact. And again, so for me that may even offer a window onto better understanding how the glove works. So there are these pathways through the fingertips, directly to the brain. So, and according to Tass's work, which we kind of reviewed, that's kind of rewiring what's going up there in motor cortex. And the fact that it can be boosted during movement suggests to me, that the sensory pathways which we are aware of, and the proprioceptive pathways, which we are not, right? It's our body telling the brain where it's at, right? So that as you reach for the milk in the refrigerator, if you're off by a few inches, your brain moves your hand back without you even being conscious of that happening. And so I'm deep and digging into literature about the integration of sensory pathways with proprioceptive pathways as a way to understand the efficacy of the glove. And I say that only as kind of a warning of where I'd like to take us in the next couple of weeks, is kind of a more careful walk through neural pathways. So what happens when those vibrations leave your fingertips? How are they mixed up with the other things that are happening in your body? And is movement going to help us understand the efficacy of the glove? And again, I think the more we understand the efficacy, the better we can tune it to individuals. So.
Yeah, I think that's related to the studies that were done decades ago, when the first researcher on Parkinson's disease saw that when their patients came on horse and buggy or train,
Yeah.
because of the vibrations, they had
Mhm.
slightly lesser symptoms or different symptoms. And
Yeah.
so those vibrations, whether they're coming from a glove or some other medium, or maybe if you're humming and that vibration itself is causing some sort of change. And of course, that's what we're all trying to figure out, is
That's what
how
we're
does
trying to
that
figure out.
work and
That's
what
it.
happens.
That's it. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I think that it was discussed before, the two-person aspect is really important. And the other place I've seen it is in what's called Tai Chi pushdown. And so you practice actually fighting slowly. And when people are engaged like that with another person's physical energy, it's very different than doing stuff on your own. And so I think it's something unique about these two-person interaction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the discovery of pedaling for Parkinson's came from a two-person bicycle,
Right. The tandem
where,
stuff.
where one of the persons was sort of forcing the pace.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady who first sort of experienced it was writing birthday cards that evening and her handwriting didn't get smaller. And that's how she noticed that she had, by riding the double bicycle, had seen an improvement. And that led Jay Albert to develop pedaling for Parkinson's, which has now just been taken over by Davis Finney, which is wonderful since he was a world-class bicycle racer.
Well, thanks, Ken. Yeah, there's all these accidents out there, right? I mean, so what the combination of a pair with intimacy and touch together with movement, yeah, it's hopeful. And many of you are living that already. So I don't mean to be kind of bringing coals to Newcastle, but being able to kind of quantify, actually, that's not a good word, but being able to kind of really argue that quality of life has been improved rather than just kind of one more kind of happy evening out or something like that. It's hopeful. And like I said, and I even think it opens a window onto possible ways for explaining the efficacy of the glove that's not in Tass's studies. So with that, you guys want to spend the next 10 minutes? I mean, Chris, you've got questions about the glove. I get to see kind of Chuck and Bo often and get their ideas, and David Gold as well. And so, but anyone who wants to speak or ask questions about where we're going with the project, the state of the backlog, yada yada yada, whatever you guys want to talk about. We have a few minutes.
Steve, Roger.
Hey, Roger.
So, could you give us kind of an outline of where you see this going in the next month, 6 months, year, 2 years, as far as your
Yeah,
current schedule, your plans?
yeah. So I really we're definitely ramping up. The two teachers and I at the high school have started a nonprofit so that we can kind of accept donations directly into that. And we will kind of move a lot of our things that are dependent upon the college or the high school, offline, make it easier for folks to purchase the glove and see kind of a variety. And with that, though, I don't want to raise hopes. We need to ramp up production. And so we've got on the order of kind of 10 trained folks and 10 more getting trained up in the next week. And I'm hopeful that we'll be making 2 pair a day, within the coming month, making 2 pair a day. And so that's sending out, 10 pair a week. We currently have a backlog of 40 folks waiting for 42. Sorry, Laura tells me. Yeah. And we have someone in the gallery present made a very generous donation that's really pushed the app development much further. We got I think I mentioned the $25,000 grant from the Youth Civic Infrastructure Fund to build a capstone class at the high school, which is really going to formalize infrastructure and build a pipeline. And I'm very excited about the potential of the app. So the apps will deliver you the ability to vary up the parameters. They won't give you much guidance on how to do that other than what I'm hoping that you might learn through your neurologist and your own experience. One of the new mentors who's come on board is a nursing student, largely due to the guidance of Margaret Zach, who's here. And this nursing student is going to help us build the health assessment tool. Right now, I can use this venue to get some feedback from you, and there's some feedback I'm receiving by email, but it's very unstructured, right? For being a so-called scientist, I've not been so careful. I was very, very fortunate to get an amazing testimonial from Frank and Pam in October. And other people have had similar outcomes, but other people I don't know much. And as you know, Roger, because you're wearing those clamshells, we keep on kind of changing the design of the smartwatch, changing the placement of the motors and how they're attached to fingers. That stuff will continue to grow. Chuck and Bo have significant experience, and Bo now has access. His family runs a machine shop in town, and he's beginning to help us better understand production issues. I'm also I'm trying to learn about quality assurance, and trying to help the students and to move in that direction so that fewer gloves. I'm thinking of you, Tom, are coming back for repair. And so that's how I see it. I feel a sense of urgency. I feel like a sense that we've made some impact on some folks' lives, and for $125, um, and I'm learning how to be a developer on these app platforms to really to better disperse these. Um, I'm still, again, as a scientist, I'm stymied by the mystery of the glove. Like it's a very indirect impact, right? That's if it's explained by synaptic plasticity, how fast does that happen? And of course it's going to be different in every brain. So I think Toss found this beautiful sweet spot, right, of these tuning parameters, but I don't know how wide that sweet spot is to have kind of more people fall into the good spot, right, where the gloves actually help there.
Can the app be added to the existing gloves without any modification?
I need to put some. So right now, all the new gloves going out will have the software built into the glove. So yeah, Ken, thank you, Ken. It's a great question. So I would need to just reprogram your glove so that it can talk to your phone. But that's a one-time deal. It can be done remotely. I can make a video for how to do that, from home, but it would require a piece of software that you'd have to install for free.
Okay.
But I can, so all the new gloves will go out equipped, to talk to a phone, and then you'll soon be able. So for Android users, you can grab the app directly from our Espanola glove page. But for iPhone users, they're much more kind of there's higher security or there's higher monopoly. So I have to kind of push it through their app store. And that's gonna take a little bit more time until I get the proper testers involved at the high school and the college.
Steve,
Yeah.
I used the gloves for a couple of months and then they lost the rhythm. They started just buzzing like without the sequence of the rhythm.
Gotcha. So that happens when they're not charged.
Yes.
So the low
Oh,
charge
I
is
was-
discontinued.
Maybe the
I
battery's
was charging them all night.
Yeah.
The
So
battery
then
can't hold the charge.
say again, Ken?
Maybe the battery can't hold the charge.
Yeah, so it could just be they need new batteries, David. Yeah, because the processor should be fine.
Okay.
I haven't seen for sure. We've seen motors fail, these off-the-shelf motors, and I've had good luck with the batteries. But that could be just an easy battery fix. So
Okay.
the batteries I'm using are kind of posted online. I know Roger brought an extra set, and Roger and David, you guys don't. So Roger, you're in Corrales, and David, you're in Magdalena, right?
Yes.
So my kind of central New Mexico geography is not perfect, but how far apart is Corrales from Magdalena?
Well, Corrales is in Albuquerque
Yeah,
and Magdalena is south of
yeah. So
Albuquerque, west
by
of Socorro.
Socorro, yeah. So it's like Socorro, Albuquerque. So.
Yeah.
So I know Roger can't quite throw you a battery, but that's something I can definitely ship you a couple more batteries, David. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean that symptom of kind of it's an ironic symptom, right? That the motors would maybe So thank you, Roger. There's the battery pack that we're using. I pay $15 for 5 batteries. It even comes with a charger of its own. But I can set you up, David, right? So
Yeah.
can
Sure.
you send me a note and I can
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
I can confirm that when it's not charged, it all goes, because when I first got the glove, I didn't read the instructions fully, and when I was charging it, I didn't turn it on. So I really wasn't charging it. I'm like, what happened? And then read the instructions, go, idiot. But I will say this, I have the Rice University prototype that was sent to me back in March, and I have your glove. And I'm going to compare designs that are different in time, but your glove is much better with its modular design, which allowed me to move all the parts to an actual glove versus the fabric that was. And again, like if a motor goes in a fingertip, you just replace one of the fingertips. I mean, the wire, and so the other
Yeah.
one, right? You got to unscrew things, and it's a mess. This is a really good design.
Good, good. I'm glad to hear that, Ken. And I mean, we went out and bought half a dozen pair of exercise and weightlifting gloves, and so we're kind of we're trying to cobble together what you and the other Ken were able to do, and see. And I think Bo's also kind of helping us move in that direction.
And I
Kind of
experimented because the first time I used fabric cement to glue my straw on, and it didn't really do the job. So now I use the Gorilla Glue,
Gotcha.
which
Yeah.
works a lot better,
Cool. Cool.
and it's still flexible.
Yeah. 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 Dynamite. And so, Roger, was that answer to where we're going? Because also, I hate to have a monologue about where we're going, because the we is like right here, right? And so I have my own kind of pains of trying to really better understand the glove, and I have my own issues, right, in trying to corral this big social enterprise into making something that's robust enough that it doesn't wear out in 2 months or something like that. Are there other and also, I guess also through your generosity, Roger, I would like to have some collaboration with neurologists, to really to kind of brainstorm about how best we could collect data on kind of do clinical trials on the glove, so that more people can benefit from this, and also that more neurologists may feel, that it's not a fringe, not a fringe treatment, right? That there's really something to it. But that takes conversations. So Roger, Bo also has Dr. Sugar as his neurologist, and Laura McClure here has Dr. Sugar. And so we're kind of ganging up on this one young neurologist in Albuquerque, to kind of have her, encounter the glove. But I'm wide open to where you guys would like to take this. We're at a pretty important juncture, for me and these two teachers to kind of break off. Again, we're way outside our comfort zone. We're teachers and academics. I love my job. I was not looking to start a company, but it just seems like the right thing to do to better serve the community.
Was
I'll be
she
looking. Yeah,
open,
sorry,
Roger?
Laura.
I was asking Roger, was she open to the gloves?
Was she open to it?
Yeah, because you went and saw her last week, right?
She is skeptical, as I was telling Steve last week. I think a large part of it is that Toss's sample size was very small. And I think he acknowledges that now, and apparently he's doing a new study. So hopefully there's going to be more robust data coming out of that will convince her and others. So she's not anti, but she's a little fearful is too strong of a word, but she's a little careful about getting involved at this point.
I think if you're trying to get kind of a third-party verification of it, that's actually a good thing. I mean, she can look at it clear-headed, level-eyed, and without bias. So, I mean, if we can manage to get her on board, to me, that's kind of who we want. Someone that's not at face value against it or for it, just somebody that can be objective.
I agree, and I was thinking that her feedback was valuable because it gave us the real-world feedback that I think we're all wanting to help move everything forward.
Yeah.
Fast. Yeah.
And to that point, the fact that the glove will talk to your phone through the app. If you're thinking about measuring gait or muscle tension or whatever, you wear the glove for like a half hour, an hour without it turned on, get a baseline, turn it on for like 2 hours or whatever, measure it again or measure it continually during the session.
Yeah. Yeah.
See how things have changed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic. I mean,
Yeah, I really feel like we're on the cusp of doing a
Mhm.
clinical study, in a Zoom one informally, but all this can be done without you guys driving to the medical center. I will, hopefully we'll agree, we'll find a way to share the data, properly and ethically and safely, so that we can give better feedback on how to tune this thing.
My doctor at Yale, he poo-pooed the TASK study early on because it's small, no controls, da, 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 da. And he said it could be a placebo effect. And my point was, placebo effect, I'll take it. If I had improvements like Conwar saw, tell me it's all in my head,
I'd be fine with that.
But he really wants me to give him, like, I'll see him in 6 months or 5 months now, because I just saw him a little while ago. But he wants to track how things are going with the glove, because I'm the only patient he has that is involved with the glove.
Gotcha.
And it would be great to get him excited and get Yale on board.
Yeah, yeah.
My brother-in-law's been a kidney specialist with the VA for years, and so I've kept him in the loop. And just recently was visiting him, and he has 2 doctor friends with Parkinson's. And I gave a pair of gloves that I made to one of them. The other one just started with the Parkinson's, so I'm going to pick up some information there. And I tried to do this earlier with like 5 sets of gloves. And the challenge I have is it takes a real dedicated person to do consistent wearing of the gloves. And 4 hours a day is really, really
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
So what I found was it was very difficult to get candidates that would really use the gloves. Not to say it should stop us or anything, but it's harder than taking a pill once a day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's important, Ken, and that's where I'm hoping the nursing student and Margaret help us kind of develop like the right level of kind of assessment to really see if we're really getting at the right stuff, right? And if the patient's really willing to go along with us on the study.
That was when my brother-in-law had the biggest criticism, was that the TASK study was so small.
Yeah,
It was
Yeah.
8 people.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, Conwar's point, if you get more effect when you're doing activity, I mean, it's easier to sit down for 2 hours and watch TV, have the glove on, than try and do activity, because you can't really do much with your hands. So
True.
like,
It's
go for a
true.
nice long walk.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
You can
it
walk
has
and you
all
can
my
ride a
fun.
stationary bike. That's about it.
But I mean, with the vision of where you want to go with the app and everything else, I think it's fantastic. I mean, I'm not getting that feedback out of Rice.
Gotcha.
I do have one question, Steve, as far as where you want to take it. Are you looking to eventually get it into hospitals, or do you want to keep it within your nonprofit and just do it on more of like a private, kind of like we're doing now? Because if you want to get into hospitals, I mean, eventually you're gonna have to get like a UL certification and all that kind of stuff, which we can
Yeah.
navigate if that's where you want to go. But if that is what you want to do, we should probably start looking ahead and kind of getting a few ideas as far as that kind of stuff goes.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I don't, that's way outside my current scope, Bo. But again, hearing from the folks, that are here. I mean, so, I mean, so I'm not sure about the efficacy of hospitals for Parkinson's, right? I mean, so, I read a quote in the kind of Santa Fe paper. I think I sent you this article, Bo, this week. There's a piece a quote by Adrienne Schubert. She runs Punching Out Parkinson's in Santa Fe.
Yeah.
And she basically said, that folks don't die of Parkinson's, they die with Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And so for me, it doesn't seem like a really viable hospital. It could be a viable hospital therapy, but I just want to get more gloves out to folks.
Well,
Period,
yeah,
right?
and I by hospital I meant like like for Dr. Sugar, for instance, if it would be something she could prescribe,
Prescribed. Gotcha.
then you'd probably
Yeah.
have to get like a UL certification and all that stuff before most doctors would touch it.
Yeah. So
Unless she becomes part of like the beta testing, where because
right.
that's what Rice is working with Baylor Medical to.
I'd be tempted to say make no claims for the drugs like a nutrition supplement.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the advice I'm getting about kind of what for getting kind of for bypassing FDA approval, right? So
Mhm.
FDA offers, so if it's a personal therapeutic vibration device, it does not need, FDA approval. The minute I start saying that it's a treatment for Parkinson's, then it's a different ball
Yeah.
game. So
Speaking of funding in your nonprofit, what are you got like some type of budget in mind?
um,
Like what do you need to get things really kicked off?
yeah,
Do you
that's
need money?
so, so
You need
uh,
money. Who
yeah,
doesn't?
so the budget is so I mean, it's a two-pronged question, right? So I definitely need money, but then also once you have money, then I need a treasurer. Right? So because I want the money to be spent, accounted for, and taxes to be paid, and the like. And so it looks like it's not an onerous bar to entry. It's about $3,000 a year for insurance, including liability, and another, say, 500 a year for web hosting from something like Squarespace, so that people can pay for the glove by Visa. We're such a lean organization, that I really do think that the purchase price is going to, like, no, the teachers and I are not looking to extract any money from this, but I've received amazing generosity from the folks that are in this room right now, and so I will I will come back to you when I have kind of a better estimate about where we're going. We're just applying for the 501(c)(3) stuff. We've had our first board meeting. We approved bylaws and the like. I'm now beginning to attract board members that have the expertises that we need in law and finance. And because of course I'm surrounded by makers, but I don't yet have the acumen for running a business. I have a 5-course load at the college, and the teachers are teaching 6, 7 classes a day.
Yeah.
So these are
I
not.
want
Yeah.
to see how Q got developed. 'Cause
Yeah.
Q is like similar. Instead of a glove, it's a different
Yes.
device, but
It vibrates the sternum. Yeah.
yeah, and I think they had a huge backlog for several years, or a backlog, and then just this year they got caught up, and I think they've shipped over 1,000 units.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And then that costs about $1,200.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Rice University sent out the connections team sent out their newsletter, and they've got 860 orders.
Wow. Wow.
But they've run into some I don't know if it's something happened, and they're falling behind schedule. I haven't heard from the two people I've been in contact with in the past, and they're probably in the middle of coursework too. So
Yeah. Yeah.
trying to run the company on in the background. But I told them when I first started work, I said, when you get some of these gloves out and people start saying, I see a benefit, I said, you won't be able to keep up with the orders.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And with
No.
860, and I think that was over the course of 6 weeks,
Gotcha.
and
Gotcha.
then they stopped taking orders.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
just like Peter Tass would get 1,000 people wanted to be in his study.
The trial. That's right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You ought to think about a fundraising letter, Steve, because
Thank
I
you.
think
That's
there's a lot of opportunity for
yeah.
donation. All us probably have friends that have money,
Mhm.
and it's a very worthy cause. People that that donate money would probably be interested.
That's a great idea, David. And that also will kind of push me to be more precise about exactly, where we're going and what we need and what people can expect from an investment. So that's great advice, David. Thank you for that.
Yeah, because the idea of doing the self-calibration is a step that other people aren't doing. It makes this project very unique.
Cool. I hope so.
A whole interaction with what you can do at home, measuring results. That's great stuff.
Mhm.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Nobody else is doing that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got 10 past 8. I mean, I can't ask for better guidance than what I'm receiving right now, but I want to respect your evening. And I know there's a few of you. The two Kens are in the Eastern time zone. So you're past 10 o'clock by now.
That's my bedtime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
It
you,
was
Steve.
it was really, really great to see you again, Frank. I'm really, really, really wonderful to see you and Pam. Thank you again for what you've done. Yeah.
You're amazing.
Uh, and so I'm hoping to, the upshot for me of the tango business, right, is this kind of the intimacy together with movement. And if that opens a window on how the glove might work, that might give me an excuse to take us down these really, really beautiful pathways for how sensation works from the touch to the brain, and how those signals get integrated with the proprioceptive stuff, which is telling the brain where the body is. But until we do things like tango, we're not really tuned in to into that other pathway. Um, so I'd like to learn more about proprioception with you guys. Um, and it is seen as something that gets degraded in Parkinson's, but these are also called, another word for proprioception is kind of deep sensory neurons. So these are not things on the surface like the tongue and the eye and the ear and the fingertips. These are sensors deep in your joints, that are telling the brain where your joints are. So we don't have access to that, or at least most of us don't have access to that. Is it part of Qigong? Is that a body map that actually is respectful to proprioception as opposed to the superficial senses? Those are all places I want us to go in the next few weeks. So I'll post, yeah, so I'll apologize in advance. I will post a 60-page paper that I hope maybe we can read over a few times together, right? Not something to chew on, but it's a synthesis of how the pathways move about from proprioception and sensory until they get up to cortex. And Toss's thesis is the cortex is like where it's happening. Motor cortex is where the motors are getting planned, and your muscles are in good shape. They're just receiving, kind of faulty information from up here. So that's where I'd like to go. So let me turn off our recorder. Unless there's any other final parting remarks, comments, I don't want to leave anybody out.
Thank you for all your work.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
I
Thank you,
think
guys.
Emma might be on here if you want to introduce her. I don't know. She may be taking care of the baby.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
Emma, are you here? Are you?
I think this Emily is Emily Chavez, not
Oh, okay.
Emily
Okay,
Schutz.
because
Yeah,
Emma had written to me and asked for the link, so I was hoping she'd be on. But
Gotcha.
I'd
Gotcha.
like her to meet all of you. So
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully we'll have her next time. Emma's the nursing student that's going to be working with us to build the health assessment into the app. So it's not just gathering disease data, it's gathering quality of life data. And we'll speak to questions like Ken brought up about, are people really being able to deliver the 2 hours at a sitting, or is this really like a 1 hour trial or a 30-minute trial? Also keeping track of drugs and health and exercise and nutrition. Bo was also giving me a model way of assessing these things, and I'm really, really grateful to have. And again, I feel guilty saying that. I'm grateful to have a Parkinson's patient, in my class. But it is going to expedite our ability to kind of ask the right questions as we roll out the app. Okay, so.